The Stoop, Scoop, yeah, that's the truth. Spilling our stories, sipping on youth. The Stoop, Scoop.
Hello, everybody. This is John Duane, partner with BrookBridge Private Wealth. Thank you for joining me for an incredibly special happy 4th of July, happy 250th birthday, semi-quincentennial edition of the BrookBridge Stoop Scoop. We are back in Sunset Park, back on the stoop. It's 104 degrees, about 200% humidity, which means, of course, it is absolutely perfect stoop weather. In some of our previous Stoop Scoops, I talked about how the stoop was great for hanging out with your friends, with your family, talking about different news, which really meant gossip. But one of the things that I didn't cover was if you were of a certain age, the stoop was a place where you showed off stuff. So that might mean after Christmas, if you come out and you show everybody all the toys that Santa brought you. During the summer, it might mean that you show off some new sneakers or some new clothes. So in that spirit, I wanted to share something incredibly special that I had made, and I want to show it off right here on the stoop, and I want to share it with all of you. If you grew up in the 1980s, there is a very high chance that you were a fan of professional wrestling. Now, there's a lot more people in 2026 admitting that back in 1986 they were fans of wrestling. I don't know why they didn't say it then, but I've always been upfront about it. I've always been a huge fan of professional wrestling. And if you were a huge fan of wrestling, you loved the characters, you loved the promos and the costumes. And one of the things that you probably loved the most was the Wrestling Championship title belt. Now, you could pretend to be Macho Man, Randy Savage, or maybe one of your other favorite wrestlers, but you really couldn't pretend to have a title belt. That was just something that was kind of beyond your reach. Now, as I've grown up, this is going to sound paradoxical, but as I've grown up, one of the things that I've enjoyed is having a collection of some of my favorite belts. The Randy Savage Intercontinental title one was one that I loved. The Ric Flair Big Gold, the Hulk Hogan 86. So I've had the opportunity to have a collection of belts. And over the years, for certain things in my life that were special or certain things that I wanted to commemorate, I've gone out and commissioned custom wrestling championship belts. And so with this once and forever opportunity of the 4th of July 2026 semi-quincentennial, I thought, what better way to remember that, commemorate it, and celebrate it than by going out and having a special happy 4th of July 2026 250th birthday America custom wrestling title belt. And that's what's here. I haven't seen it yet. We're going to take a look at it together. So my research team went out. They did the research of American history of the things that we wanted to include on the belt. They worked with the design team, who are the experts on the wrestling title belts, because they wanted to look like a wrestling title belt, but commemorating all of those great American pieces in it. And they worked together to come up with a number of different specs. I looked at them, approved them, and had this sent out. And this belt was made once and for all. We can't wait to show it to you. Let's take a look. All right, folks, so we're going to take a look at this. Now, I have already cut this. You don't want me operating a knife on camera. I haven't looked in here, but I've already cut it. We're going to get the belt out. We're going to take a look at it.
Okay. All right, let's take a look. This is live.
See here. All right. We are getting a look at it. Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, the United States 250th anniversary Happy 4th of July title belt. Here it is in all its glory. The first time I'm seeing it, absolutely gorgeous. Let's take a look. Hang on. All right, folks. Let's just first take it in before we start going over some of the particulars of it. All right, I have the BrookBridge baton. Let's take a look at some of the special features of the belt. So prominently along the top, United States 250th anniversary, fantastic celebration of the semi-quincentennial. Right here in the center of the center plate, inspired by the Great Seal of the United States, you see the American bald eagle. Now, in one claw, clutching 13 arrows representing the 13 American colonies. Over here in the other claw, holding on to an olive branch representing that we take a look always to peace before war. Now, interesting little piece about this the emblem of the United States. It became the emblem of the United States back in 1782. That was actually 7 years before the Constitution. Now, it didn't become the national bird of the United States until December of 2024. So, if you think about it, it was the national emblem of the United States 7 years before the Constitution, didn't become the national bird of the United States until December of 2024. President Biden signed that into, I guess you'd say, law. Over here on this side of the belt, you have the Capitol building, which was completed in 1800. And then over here on this side of the building, or on this side of the belt, the White House, which was also completed in 1800. John Adams, our second president, was the first occupant of the White House. United States of America, 250th anniversary, fantastic representative seal of the United States in the center. Let's take a look. 1776, 2026, flanking the belt. The center plate, July 4th, 1776 to 2026. Little interesting thing about this date. So the colonies all voted on July 2nd unanimously to declare independence from Britain. So John Adams actually said that forever and ever and ever, July 2nd would be the day that Americans celebrated forever. He actually wound up being off by 2 days. He said that they would celebrate it with illuminations, meaning fireworks. So he was off a little bit because it was actually July 4th. Now, I said in quotes because the New York delegation actually did not vote on July 2nd. The New York delegation, their legislature in New York did not get together to give directions to their team in Philadelphia until July 9th. And the New York team didn't vote, or the New York delegates didn't vote on independence until I think it was July 15th. So just a little interesting thing there that it's July 4th. July 4th was the day that the colonies ratified or approved the Declaration of Independence unanimously. But again, New York didn't do that. That all didn't happen until July 15th. So interesting little thing about the July 4th, 1776 to 2026. Little interesting thing about the July 4th date. If we take a look at the first side plate, we have the great symbol of American freedom, the Liberty Bell. The Liberty Bell was commissioned in 1752. It was actually delivered in August of 1752, even though the inscription on the belt says 1753. So the Liberty Bell was delivered on time and under budget. And I think the legend or lore that we learned in grammar school is that the Liberty Bell cracked the very first time that they rang it, but that's actually not the case. The problem with it in 1752 is that it was kind of like a crappy bell. Like they rang it and it didn't sound very good, and I think they're supposed to be calibrated a certain way. And I know, I think some other silversmiths took it back and tried to recast it again, and it still wasn't very, very good. But the crack didn't come until somewhere between 1817 and 1849. But interestingly about the Liberty Bell, this is July 4th of 1776. In July 8th of 1776, when in Philadelphia the Declaration of Independence was read for the first time, all of the bells in Philadelphia were rung, and the Liberty Bell, albeit not a great bell in terms of phonetically or the sound, was rung during that. So the Liberty Bell, I always remember the phrase, "Let freedom ring." Let's take a look at the other side plate. The invocation and representation of the Marines raising the flag on top Mount Suribachi, the Battle of Iwo Jima, which would have been February 23rd of 1945, 6 Marines from the 5th Marine Division. Interesting little tidbit about this, if you've seen the famous photo in history, that photo is actually the second time that the flag was raised. The Marines had raised the flag, and someone said, hey, that would be amazing if you had a bigger flag. It was a little flag. And then they went and they found a bigger flag, and they were getting ready to raise it. And then the photographer said, hey, wait a minute. Okay, go ahead. And then they raised it, and he took a picture of it. So this is on the belt to represent and symbolize that we must always be willing and ready to fight for our freedom. And it would not do the belt justice if at the end of the day this just sat on a typical black strap. Instead, we had to create a customized American flag leather strap to hold the belt. So 50 stars and stripes representing the 50 states of the United States of America, or the 50 stars representing the United States of America, 13 stripes representing the 13 colonies. And after 250 years, a little bit of wear, a little bit of tear. We are not a new country, we're not a new democracy, but we're always growing, we're always evolving, and we're always celebrating. So, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time ever, the first fully customized, commissioned United States 250th anniversary title belt. You know, it occurred to me that in 1976, the centennial, I was 3 years old, and I still have some faint memories of that. We're celebrating our 250th now, presently, and it occurred to me that in 2076, when I will be 103 years old, we will be celebrating our tricentennial. So that's a little bit of a cliffhanger, a way to say to you, join me in 50 years and let's see what belt I have made for that. I hope you enjoyed this unboxing. I want to thank, first of all, my research team and my design team for putting in the work and putting together all the specs and sending this out for commission. They did an amazing job. I want to thank my production team, the directors, sound people, cameramen, who've done a fantastic job, and of course my scouting location, which got us this great stoop once again in Sunset Park, Brooklyn. If it's high definition, you can see the sweat on my face. It's about 108 degrees out here, but no better way, no better temperature to celebrate the 4th of July, our 250th, and the unveiling of this fantastic belt than at a time like this. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. I can't wait to see you back on the stoop soon. Take care.
Chip paint on bricks the color of rust. Feet on the stoop like they're earning my trust. Sun dips slow like it's got nowhere to be. We're swapping tall tales under this old oak tree. The stoop, scoop